Have you ever heard of the RugRats theory? The theory states that Angelica suffered from schizophrenia and the RugRats babies were all a figment of her imagination. In reality, Chucky died with his mom, and that's why his father is constantly nervous and emotional. Tommy was a stillborn, which caused his father to suffer a mental breakdown and become obsessed with creating toys for his dead son. Phil and Lil were never born because their parents had an abortion, and because Angelica never knew the gender of her aunt and uncle's child, she created the twins in her mind to cope with the loss. Angelica never knew her real mom because she died of an overdose shortly after she was born, and her father remarried a woman who only wanted him for his money. Because she was so young and alone, Angelica convinced herself that her stepmother was her real mother and grew to idolize her. After uncovering bits and pieces of her past, Angelica created a replica of her mother through her doll Cynthia. The unkempt dress and frazzled hair are said to represent the image of her drug-addicted mother. Tommy's baby brother Dill was one of the only children to actually exist. Angelica was constantly frustrated with him since he wasn't obedient like her hallucinations were. Eventually, she couldn't tell the difference between reality and her imagination. One day, she became so frustrated that she viciously hit Dill and he suffered a brain hemorrhage. As a result, Angelica turned to drugs to cope with her guilt, and her eventual addiction followed her into her teenage years, which we see in the all grown-up era. Before this, Angelica's hallucinations had stopped, but with her drug use, they returned. To account for the lost time between being a baby and a teenager, she imagined the RugRats to be older, as if they had grown up with her. Another child that technically existed was Chucky's stepsister Kimmy. The theory states that Chucky's father went to Paris where he met an addict named Kira. Kira had a daughter named Kimmy, but Kimmy was taken away from her due to her addiction, and Angelica created a hallucination of Kimmy based on the stories Kira had told her. During Angelica's grown-up years, she becomes addicted to narcotics, which negatively affect her schizophrenia. Because the RugRats are her only source of company, she abuses drugs to keep her hallucinations alive. Susie was also real and just wanted to be there for her sick friend. As a result, she would regularly engage with Angelica's hallucinations just to appease her. Angelica died of an overdose at the age of 13. It's said that she spent her last remaining days playing with her creations, just as she did when she was a child.